Good evening and welcome to Steve Wraith's True Crime channel, and I'm delighted to welcome Ben Hatchett tonight, mate. How are you?
What's happening, mate? You all good?
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Yeah, good to have you on, mate. And I've followed your podcasts over the last 6 or 7 months. I think a lot of people have been tuned into podcasts, what with lockdown, etc. And there's plenty to choose from, that's for certain. Yours has been interesting. You've seen prison from the other side of the bars. I only went into prison as a visitor, of course, visiting various criminals over the years, and I started my journey with a craze. But you've come across some big names. But we'll come to that. We'll come to that in due course. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, Ben. Where were you born and where were you brought up?
I'm a South Coast boy. I was brought up in. I was born in Hastings. So I grew up in Eastbourne. So I spent most of my life. I was in foster care a lot of my childhood, and mostly got moved around different homes up towards London, but mostly I grew up around the South Coast.
So you say you moved around. I mean, was it an unhappy childhood then, Ben?
I think it becomes the norm, Steve. Like you have nothing to compare it to. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I had no sense of like difference to compare what I was growing up in, because it's the norm to you. You know what I mean? You haven't any other experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I was lucky. I had a lucky upbringing in a lot of ways. I was probably born into a middle class family, but my mum and dad were both hard workers. Both went out to work, and they tried to do their best for me. I wasn't the greatest of scholars at school. I fell behind after my first 2 years. I couldn't read and write. I got taken out of state school and put into private school, and I was lucky, Ben. So when I hear people's stories and I hear your stories, I think, I have been lucky. I count myself lucky. What are your memories of going in and out of care? I mean, I presume there were some horror stories.
Nah, not really. I think, you got to remember this is the early 90s. So obviously, the care system isn't what it is now. There was still the bullying. And, and obviously, while I was always a small boy, do you get what I mean? Like, boys would be boys and certain things happened, but bad things happen. It's not something I really always get into, you know what I mean? I still carry a lot of, emotions about that. I've worked a lot on myself. I deal with my emotions and my tempers and that, but, certain things trigger. It wasn't the best of childhoods, no. It wasn't.
What were you like at school then, Ben? What was were you somebody who stuck in at school? Were you wagging off? Were you bugging off?
Not really. No, do you know what? I was a bit of a misfit, bro. Like my secondary school, I was classed as the popular naughty kids. But before that, my first secondary school and most going through, I was a bit of a misfit. I didn't really gel, I didn't know how to mix. I just felt like I didn't fit in. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was like, it was kind of odd. It was kind of different.
Were you into sport and that kind of thing? Were you on the football team? Were you a runner, a swimmer, or was that something that passed you by as well?
No, like I always liked footy. I always like try playing a bit of footy, but that secondary school, it was like I just really couldn't sort of fit in, man. I had a terrible time with not fitting in and more bullying. I was on the receiving end of a lot of bullying in my childhood, and growing up into that school. It was only until I went to the second secondary school, and that's when I started mixing with a lot of people in town, and that's when I learned how to sort of defend myself, look after myself. But then I started going down the path where I enjoyed the violence and I enjoyed the crime. I enjoyed getting a name for myself, and that's why I took it to another level.
Okay, did you leave school with any qualifications?
No, none.
Did you have any ambitions then when you left school? Did you know what you wanted to do?
None, Steve. This is why now it's become one of my main passions now, to try and build and encourage the youth, because I think like as soon as someone has a goal, dream, or ambition in their head, they can go on to achieve madness. Look what I've done. The minute, I never had any growing up. I never had any dreams or ambitions growing up as a kid. I had no one there building me up as a kid. And that's why it's so important now. We need to be building youth, because you know, when you've got no one there building you up or putting you down, digging you out, you can go on a path where, you know, I call it a life sentence. I call it a definite sentence. Whereas when I found ambition, when I found a goal, when I found hope, look at everything I've achieved now. Do you get what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm sitting in a VIP guest at this big football with all these people I've seen on TV and that of the week, and I'm drinking beer and that of them. I might have had one or too many beers. You know, shout out to old Pancho from Dirty Sanchez, mate. Well, we had a bit of a messy one, but you know what I mean? It's just crazy. The minute like you find belief, it's a complete game changer. And that's why now, you know, regardless of the trolls and negativity it goes about, my heart's still pure and I know what my intentions are. Still want to try and inspire the youth. You know, I'm a big thing about law of attraction, you know, and I think that's really what we need to be pushing out on the youth, you know.
You mentioned football a couple of times. Are you a football fan?
Go on the Spurs. I'm a Spurs boy.
And we've got Spurs in a couple of weeks' time after the international break. It should be interesting. Harry Kane, are you surprised he's still there?
Surprise, surprise, isn't it? You know, he's one of our own, hopefully.
What do you think about the new manager?
Every manager, listen, we go into it, innit? It's like every time, innit? You know, you say Jose, I'd say still bring Redknapp back. He was my favourite. You know what I mean? I'd say bring Redknapp. He was always my favourite manager of Spurs in my time.
Yeah, okay. So obviously you leave school, no qualifications. You know, you've mentioned briefly there you did go off on the wrong path. Did that start with drinking and going out with the lads?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I sort of started finding myself in town with people that I thought my mates, and drinking. There was a lot of drinking. Yeah, a lot of drinking involved, and just antisocial behaviour around the town.
Antisocial behaviour. Did he get into fights and that? Then Ben, is that what you're saying? Was it you against somebody, or was it I don't know? Were you involved in a gang?
The signal's going really bad here, Steve.
Yeah, it's at my end, I think, mate. It'll pick up in a second. It's there we go. Yeah, from your perspective, were you getting involved in gangs, or were you going out and having fights yourself?
Well, at least I'm the South Coast boy. We don't really do the gangs and that down here. That's more like the London or cities. I think that is pretty much everywhere now, to be fair. But back then, weren't really gang. You had your group of mates. At town, you have little groups. You know, we didn't have any name for what our group was or anything like that. You know, there was a lot of antisocial. You got into dramas, you got into beefs with other groups, and then I sort of found the love of violence. You know, when I started getting into the violence and defending myself, you know, I think all the years of having a hard time when I was younger, fighting back and realised I could fight back. And then, and then just sort of, that's when a lot of troubles escalated. But I drink a lot of, I'd fight a lot out of drinking and that as well. Like, you know, it was always a big confident thing for me younger. And then confidence started shooting through the roof. I sort of thought I found myself as this person in town with my peers, drinking and fighting and like having a name. You know, you start getting female attention. You start getting known, like people will look at you and start like shaking hand or nodding at you. You know, I never experienced that. I was always an outcast and always had seen out. So when it sort of changed, I fell in love with that sort of antisocial lifestyle.
Did you not worry about the consequences at the time, or were you just oblivious to that?
No, not worried about consequences at all. There was no worry about that. I was so indulged with what I was doing.
And do you think that, you know, you mentioned the drink, did that come from, you know, from the drink? Were you getting the confidence from that and obviously building up that reputation, people shaking your hand, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that was a part of it. Mm.
You know, how did things escalate from there then? What did you get into which changed your life for the worst?
Well, no, I went away, like I said, tell people, I went away at 17 years old. I was convicted for a knife crime. Big argument broke out. And unfortunately, I used a knife on someone, another lad, and I was sentenced to prison for that. I was given just under 5 years, an extended sentence, and then I served just over 2.5 years out of that. Everything just gets worse, man. Everything just gets worse. Everything escalates, you know. Especially when I was so committed to that lifestyle. I found myself in it. I loved it. I wanted it. It's causing dramas, the fights, the dramas. I loved it. And it was all about taking it further. Like when you hear your name was ringing bells around your town. When you start doing all these things, there was other things. Obviously, obviously reasons, legal reasons, I can't talk about. Some of the stories and that you just really building on that reputation, building on a name.
Yeah, I mean, what possessed you to carry a knife, Ben?
It's a good question. I'll say it to the youth now. And I feel like a bit of a hypocrite when I speak when I talk to the youth. What possessed me to carry that knife? I still honestly, Steve, can't say.
Do you think it was because you felt as if, did it give you some kind of power? Did it give you more confidence, or were you anticipating coming up against somebody who potentially could have, probably hurt you?
It is a really good question, man. What possessed me to carry it? I think power. I think definitely a power thing. I think that lifestyle. This you got to remember that sort of time. The music was starting to change and that as well. This was like 2000s and seven. Yeah, 2007. This was. So you got to remember the grime music, and so I was seeing some of the comments, man. But yeah, I was listening to some yeah, I think the music changes. I think the atmosphere, the people you're associating with, the films and that you're watching, you hear, I think a lot of the South Coast life you sort of try and copy from the city life, and do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
No, I
yeah, I
can't
do.
see. Like someone saying, "Don't listen to the comments." Is that my? I've got like a little network of these little trolls at the minute. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure they'll probably be all over this live.
Well, look, it's sad because it comes with being, putting your head above the parapet. It comes with going onto YouTube. If you're going to put
Yeah,
yourself out there, you have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to take the positive with the negative. You have to take the good comments and the bad comments. And
yeah. But they're my biggest fans, Steve. Steve, they're my biggest fans, bro. Honestly, the amount of videos they do about me, the amount of videos, the amount of time and effort they go in, and they watch all my stuff. Listen, my trolls are my biggest fans, man. They get a bit too weird sometimes, obsessed, like trying to make fake accounts and all that. But shout out to all of you, man. I got nothing but love for all of you.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, it's interesting. I mean, you clearly never been asked that question about, why carry a knife. And I mean, I guess there's a lot of kids, who maybe have done that in the past. You unfortunately stabbed somebody. You ended up in prison. What was that? What was that like going through that court process first? You're arrested. Maybe you sobered up. Did you on the night time and realize what had happened? How did you feel when you were first arrested for the crime? First of all.
Um, it's gonna sound bad, but there was nothing there. Like I kind of knew I was going to be going to prison at some point. I think, where I got so committed to that lifestyle that I wasn't really thinking outside. I wasn't really thinking consequences. I just thought it was going to be past the past. It's what's going to happen. It's what's going to come. So I wasn't really, I didn't really think of it. I know when I first went, I know when I was first convicted for the knife crime, it was kind of like, because even then I was looking at IPP. Even then at 17 years old, I was looking at a definite sentence. Then, that was heavy. That I remember that was it. That was playing in my mind. So because I was gonna try and fight the case, I was gonna actually fight the case. It was on at first I think they had me down for attempted, and then when I was first arrested, it was an attempted murder. But then when you're charged, I was charged for Section 18, and then plea bargain, Section 20. So I took the guilty because you got to remember 2007 that they was giving out the IPPs like hotcakes. They would
Yeah.
like
Explain what an IPP is, just for those people who are
um,
watching who maybe don't understand what that is.
it's like I think it's indefinite public protection. So basically, IPP, it's like the sentence base I did end up serving. You don't have a release date, but with the IPP, they say like after 2-3 years, you can start applying for parole. And if you lose your parole every year, you could apply for parole. But in 2007, they've squashed it now because it was a big mess up. We can get into that. I'm more than happy to. But 2007 is when they was giving them out ridiculously. They was giving out like year IPPs and that. And I remember every time I was going to court, I was getting locked out of the prison. We was like sleeping in the police station that night. it was just overpacked. I remember that, you know. So yeah, there was that time. So I remember like I had to plead guilty because for the Section 18, I definitely would have received an IPP. There was no doubt about it. If I was found guilty for a Section 18 GBH, then no matter what, I was getting an IPP. But you know, I took the plea deal for Section 20 GBH, and that's when I received 4-year, 11-month extended EPP, extended public protection order.
How did you feel in court when the judge announced that that was your sentence?
Good question. You're good interviews, dude. Good with the questions. You know, I mean, I'm gonna start taking some notes myself when I do the questions. Good, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, because for me and a lot of my viewers, predominantly my channel is football. I do interview, you know, a lot of people who've been involved in different crimes, but I just try to put myself in your place. I mean, I know how I would feel, but you know, it's you know, I'm an actor. It's also interesting to hear what the emotions are for somebody, and I've seen both sides. I've seen obviously American TV, O.J. Simpson, probably a prime example. You know, very emotionless when he first got convicted. But then you see other people that react very emotionally, you know, and I just wonder what your reaction was. Did you keep a straight face? Did you say anything?
I was quite a cold kid because, you know, a lot of trauma I've been through when I was younger. You know, it's hard to show emotions when you be for it sounds crazy, but I was very emotional, but I very wasn't. Like, that sounds mad. So basically, on the outside, like showing emotions and that, it was quite difficult for me to do. Do you know what I mean? But in the inside, I had emotions, and that's why when I did like have them explode, or when I did with her, you know, that's why I always took things to the mad extreme. You know, people always compare me to, because I say I'm the only guy kicked out of Broadmoor and all this, you know, because they have an image in their head. I'm meant to be 6 foot, 6.5 foot, big tonk head. Yeah, I was a muscly kid when I was inside, so I can handle myself. But it was always out of emotions. That's why I went on top of roofs. That's why I did the hostage. That's why I did them things. Do you get what I'm sort of saying? You know, so it was always acting out of emotion, even though on the outside I wouldn't show them emotions. Do you get what I mean? So
I do, yeah. I do. I mean, when you went into prison, did you go in? Some people go in with a mindset like, you know, Michael Peterson, aka Charlie Bronson, Charlie Salvador, as he is now, a good friend of mine. He went in with the intention of making it difficult for the prison system, but only ended up making it difficult for himself. Did you go in with that mindset of, I'm gonna create a riot here, or did you go in with the mindset of I'm gonna try and settle down and you know, get through my sentence and get out on the other side and not come back here?
No, like I said with me, when I went away for that time, I had no intention of causing the problems that I later on did. And again, shout out to Bronson. He sent me a lovely postcard, some lovely words. So shout out to Charlie, man. No, so I think I didn't have that mindset. I didn't. Actually, when I did that podcast with Leo Gregory, Bother from Green Street.
Good lad. I worked with him on the Cass Pennant film. He's a good lad.
He's good. There was the film. Do you remember the film? And I spoke to him about it. It's one of the first films he did where he was a kid. He went into young offenders.
Yes. Yeah.
That was my image, because I see that about you were saying before I actually received that sentence, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, that was my opinion of it, you know what I mean? That was sort of like what I thought young offenders was going to be. Make them sing blah, blah, black sheep and out the window, and you know what I mean? New boy. So I went in there with that sort of opinion. You know, there was some similarities. Obviously, that was a bit more, films always a bit more exaggerated. You know, it was, and you got to remember, in these young offenders like Feltham, Hunter Cream, like a lot more city boys. I'm from the South Coast. I'm just a South Coast kid. So in them sort of jobs, they go there and they see a lot more mates and they have a lot more people that are friends and that with. So I always had it kind of difficult, and I was always small. I wasn't a gymmer when I was in my teens. It was more in my adolescence. That's when I become, obviously, I don't know if you ever saw the pictures of me in Broadmoor and in prison. John was a big lad, you know, so.
Yeah.
You know, but so yeah, I had it kind of got difficult. I just kept my head down with young offenders. I went over to like Portland, Hunter where else ago? Did a cut loud Lewis, Hyde down Elmley, and I was released from Rochester.
Zulu Warrior says, tell Steve what happened in prison when you got attacked for having a British Bulldog tattoo on your leg. Is that right?
Yeah, that story's out there. That's how I got the gold teeth. You know,
go on, tell us about that.
Yeah, I got my teeth kicked out for having extremists. It was the same sort of time as the EDL. So a lot of people, I think, you know, in them places, in prisons, and that, a lot of it comes down to boredom. You know, you had like no one knew that Tommy Robinson was or anything. It was just about like EDL, these guys with balaclavas in the papers all the time. I got a British Bulldog on my leg, under my leg. It says Tottenham underneath it because obviously Tottenham boxing, they're my favourite sports. And yeah, I was attacked by Hamza the Hooks, his friends, Haroon, his right hand man, as I call it. And yeah, they attacked me. They went in heavy on me. They did my ribs, my socket, and yeah, my teeth. And that's why I got. That's how the story behind the gold teeth. But you know, obviously when I went to Broadmoor, I was there with a Haroon. Haroon's now extradited to America. He's probably been waterboarded in Guantanamo Bay. Bless him. You know, but I put a cricket ball over his head in Broadmoor, which then obviously made my time a lot more difficult in with the extremists in Broadmoor. So.
You mentioned Broadmoor a couple of times. Let's go into that. How did you end up going from prison to Broadmoor, Ben?
You know, a lot of the stuff I'll have to hold back for some stuff because obviously the Amazon, obviously now it'd be finished because of the fight.
Yeah.
But the same when I went on the James pod, I've got this thing to hold back. You know, yeah, I did get kicked out of Broadmoor. I know, like, look at these trolls and whatever. I did get kicked out. You know, it's a fact. Yeah, some things happened. You know, things made front page paper. There was riot. There was a riot. Yes, I was involved. But yeah, you know, some things happened. But you got to remember that place is head on earth.
But how did you end up going to Broadmoor? Were you becoming such a problem in the prison service that you got moved there?
Oh yeah, I was causing dramas and when you start going on top of roofs and you know you're getting done for alleged hostage taken and this that the other. There's only so much the prison service will take, and it's not even that. Like I said to people when I was on top of Winchester prison roof, I said about I wish you know was it the negotiators. You get the negotiators come in and it was like and they said about what is it you want? And the story is when I said to them that if you get me an Elvis Presley impersonator singing Faith by George Michael, then I'll come down. When you start saying shit like that on top of prison roofs, they start thinking you're a little bit mad. So that's when the whole mental health circuit sort of come. But, you know, there was also an escape attempt in another place, but again, a lot of it will come out more on the Amazon. But yeah, I was in prison. I was completely problematic. That's what led me going to Broadmoor. And
Do you
then
think a lot of
Broadmoor.
this was a reaction to your upbringing?
Of course, I think you know when like you know I was recalled. You remember I was recalled to prison in 2020 and 2010 for no 2020. No, when was I recalled? Yeah, 2010 on to 2020. So I was recalled in 2010. So I went away 2007. I got recalled in 2010, and for a fight in the pub that had nothing to do with me, Steve. You know, I had absolutely nothing to do with me. But when you're licensed and you get arrested and charged, you get recalled. But they should have never charged me. This is why now I feel so strongly supporting Kevin Lane because the recalls are absolutely wrong, man. And if I had never got recalled for something I didn't do, that winning court had nothing to do with me. There was a fight in the pub, you know, maybe not. I might not have ended up getting a fucking indefinite sentence. You know, I generally had nothing to do with that fight in the pub. I think it was a white T-shirt with a certain logo on it, and in that area where it's a small town, when you're known to the police, they're just automatically gonna think it's you. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, we've obviously over the last couple of weeks had a look through various things in the media, and when you came out of prison, you came out with an idea of you were going to change things, but when you were in Broadmoor, you came across some very controversial figures, and I remember reading something. I think it was in the Daily Star a couple of weeks ago. Some of those names you met were similar to the names I actually met when I was on a visit to Ronnie Craig on more than one occasion in Broadmoor. You actually came across Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I made his fucking chicken burger for him, didn't I? That was weird. I've not long been in Broadmoor. I found out actually who he was. There was a documentary on Channel 5. You know, like Channel 5 used to do a lot of them sort of programs, and that's what actually let me realise what it was. I remember I first saw him. I got a little job in the cafe in Broadmoor, and yeah, he was on a. They was on a lot of him, that Robert Napper, and that they was on awards called what was it? They was on Sandhurst Awards. So every Thursday afternoon, they used to come over to the calf. So the calf is joined onto the shop like a canteen. So and you might remember when you went and visit there. You know where the old disco ball was. The old disco.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
where the calf.
yeah.
That's where the calf is in Broadmoor. So and the shop's right next door. So let's go to the shop and then you get to sit in the calf bit after. When I say calf, it's like burgers and like you get burgers, milkshake, and chicken burgers like that. He used to order chicken burger and that. So I remember the first he's come in and sit down. I had to take him his chicken burger over there. So yeah, that was weird, mate. He was just a fat old man, but like he had like musky blue fake eye. So yeah, it was kind of crazy, man, seeing him. I just literally watched a documentary about him 2 months, about only literally a couple of nights ago, about a couple of nights before. But,
Yeah, it was a strange situation with me. I mean, you know, depending on how good he'd been or how bad he'd been in Broadmoor, Ronnie Craig was usually on Henley ward, but he sometimes got moved to Somerset ward, and it, you know, depended on where he was, on whether we got, you know, where we visited him. But on a lot of occasions when I used to visit him in Broadmoor, we used to go along the corridor, the ward, if you like, and we used to turn in left, and it was a big stage area, red velvet curtains.
yeah, that's the calf. That's where the calf
Yeah,
is. And
that's right. Yeah,
That's
and
where
then
that's where the calf is.
it would lead to a conservatory at the back, which if it was a summer's day, they would have the doors open, but you would always have to put in a request.
Yeah, that's shut now. When I was there, shut now. That bit shut and that. They got the calf bit saying people on the outside, all that area, they could go over and sit on the outside bit and all that. Yeah, Steve knows more, man. Yeah.
It was amazing. Well, it was amazing to go. I mean, I went on many occasions to visit Ron. I was very lucky in that respect that I got a chance to visit him. And the one thing that I'll always remember at Ronnie Craig was just how dapper he was, how well dressed he was. But it's interesting. You mentioned the you know the fact that you mentioned the fact about Sutcliffe having a bad eye. Of course, that was when
Lee. It was a blue musk eye. It was when
Lee Kinnider, the Woolworths killer, I think, who stabbed him in the eye with a felt tip pen.
His name was Flo. I only ever met him once. I met Flo once. I see Flo once.
Was Charlie Smith still there when you were there?
I can't remember Charlie. But
Charlie was Ronnie's boyfriend.
No, I never met him, bro. But I met the one person. Obviously, I did meet Patrick Suarez, and he was the one who tried stabbing the Ripper in the good eye. You know, he was he's actually a very good friend of mine, man. And he was like the typical case where someone like so mad, but if he wasn't, you could tell his mental illness was evil, and he actually wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy, man.
Ash says, didn't I once bump into Sutcliffe? Yes. There was one visit where I was sitting having a visit with Ronnie Crane, and this guy came in late on in the visit, about 10 minutes after I'd started. And basically, this guy knocked the back of my chair and didn't apologise. And Ron went into a bit of a frenzy. He wasn't very happy. He was really annoyed. And ultimately, when I turned round and looked, it was this guy that we've just shown on the screen. It was Peter Sutcliffe. He knocked my chair, and that was my only encounter with the Ripper on visits. But Ronnie Craig wasn't happy at all. You did mention Robert Napper, of course, the man who was.
I think he was probably the worst piece of shit there.
Really, because he killed Rachel Nickel, didn't he?
Yeah, kids as well, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that guy
someone was convicted for his crime, and that big police. There was big. I don't know vaguely about it. It was like someone was convicted for the crime originally.
Yeah, there's a dramatisation. I think it's coming on ITV or it's coming on Channel 4 in the next few weeks. Colin Stagg was wrongly convicted of crime. And there's a dramatisation coming out very soon, which I think somebody's been on one of the Good Morning Britain programmes, I think it was, about that. But yeah, so he was probably one of the worst you spent time with, yeah?
I think he was the worst. I think, you know, I don't know, just you see auras and that about people. On that ward, there's a lot of fucking evil auras in that ward, you know? So, you know what I mean?
You also spent time in Ashworth Hospital, which of course you talk about going to the two biggest high profile places. I mean, there's only Rampton you probably didn't do, but
no, I never did the 3. I never did the 3. I did 2 out of 3. You know, and there's not many people who did that. So you know.
So in Ashworth, you came across probably one of the most notorious but the most despicable.
He was my trainer.
You came across Ian Brady.
No, I'll tell you what, I never saw him. And Ashworth kept him, like they treated him, like a fucking special treatment. He was on what ward? What ward was he on? I can't remember what ward he was on. It was on a ward, innit? But Ashworth and Broadmoor are very different. Like, you know, they're the highest skills place in the country. but they're very different. You know, like Broadmoor's a bit more sort of like more prisony sort of vibe. Where Ashworth, they're clamped down. The Scouts, they got like, do you know what I mean? It's very hard there. But with him, now when he moved, he got the red carpet treatment. You know, everyone at 9 o'clock got locked in their cells. Brady was the only patient in the whole hospital, wouldn't get locked up. You know, like it's crazy, man. It was so wrong. And me and a few others, when we had the joke, the banter about taking him hostage, 9 months segregation. That's the longest I did in segregation. It was they said I was alleged to take Ian Brady hostage, but I never saw him in person. Never.
What
I
was
saw
it?
a lot
What
of
was it
high
like in
profile
Sudbury?
people, but I never saw Brady.
You say segregation. I mean, what was it like to be in segregation?
Mate, like it's one way Charlie describes it, innit? Like he tell people, you know, when people like say these trolls example, they come. I saw one troll over there, wimp and all this, that, the other. I'll tell you, you go sit yourself in your bathroom, and you sit there all day and all night. And you see how long you last before you open that door, because that's what it's like, a bathroom. And these are the hospitals. There's no TVs. It's like prison. There's segregation. There's no TVs, and because it's a hospital, you don't even get the radio. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you can have a book, and that's when people they wanna say this, that, and other. You go do what I did. You go do 9 months segregation. Listen, that will fuck you up, mate. It sends you crazy in the head, and they false medding you and that as well. You know, and yeah, it was difficult, man. That was like the hardest, but it was the hardest time in my life. But it was the biggest turn in my life where I was able to read the books. That's where I discovered law of attraction. And that's when I become humble. That's when I'm positive, and I started writing ambition and goals down, and that's why I wanted to make a difference. And every goal I've written down, I've done it. I achieved it. After my boxing fight, I literally achieved my dream. And that's why I have them 4 letters. PTAW, prove them all wrong, man. I did it. They say I'll never get out before I was 40. I got out when I was 30, and I come out and achieve the dream. So
one more person I will mention, Dale Krieg, and I think you're probably going to mention him, weren't you, before I put the photo?
That's what I thought you was going to say. Yeah, he was my training partner for 2 years in Ashworth. We were training.
What was he like? I mean, I tend not to read too much into that case. But I've not read a great deal about it. But I know the ins and outs. I know he killed police officers and 2 female police officers. A bit of a boy around his manner at the time. But what was he like to train with, I guess?
He was very into his fitness, but obviously so was I at the time. There was 3 of us. There was another lad called Travis as well. He was a training partner of us, and it was just another lad. Like some in there, you got to remember, like people have done. We all done things. It was hard to sort of like, stereotype, sort of like, what's the word? I'm choosing my word carefully. It's a very sensitive one, isn't it? That's how I trained with him for 2 years. I can only judge him on how he wasn't that with me. Yeah, do I agree with what he did? No, it's disgusting, but I got paired up with him in the gym. So the gym staff obviously was paired up, so we train with each other. And there's not really much I can sort of say about him. There's some things I've said, like, I will say this, and I haven't said this before, Steve, I'll give you an exclusive. A lot of people wonder actually, it started in a pub. It never did. There was actually another reason to doing what it did, and I'm going to talk about that in the Amazon documentary, something I kept to myself. He told me some other things. Because, when you're 2 years and you're training with each other, then after we used to train, we used to walk around the sports hall, we used to talk. So, we spoke for 2 years.
When is the Amazon documentary? Is a question from Dennis Turner.
Dennis, good question. It was all waiting from, obviously, my fight, the boxing match. That's done now. So, it's in their hands. So, obviously, I think it'd just be editing and that now. Because there's so much of it. There's so many people I met, like people didn't see. There's people like Keiko, Jar Jar Souls, Big Joe Egan, Dave Courtney, different gyms I went around training at. There's so much, man. There's like not just hours, there's days worth of footage. So they've got to take, Steve, you imagine, innit, when you're editing and things, that they've got to take.
It's a long process.
They've got to turn it into like an hour and a half documentary. So you got like about a week's worth of content. They got to break it down. So but it's nothing to do with me. It's out of my hands. So I should imagine it'll definitely be out this year.
Ash wants to know why Ian Brady got better treatment than other people. Why do you think?
I always wondered it. I think it's a bit of a money thing as well. If something happened to him, they got to get certain budgets. Having people there gives them reason to get money. I think anyone things happening to him because people would have. Look at Sutcliffe. Flo. His full name. I called him Flo. What was his full name?
It was Lee Kinnider, the Woolworths killer, I believe, who stabbed his eye. I think he was attacked on more than one occasion. And
because Patchett tried taking out his good eye with the toilet thing. And so yeah, you got to remember, like, people would have tagged them up. Do you know what I mean? So I think Ashworth, yeah, it's wrong, but it's the only person not to be locked up in that as well. And then yeah, it's fucking wrong, man.
I do like the things people want to know. Gola Short says, did Peter Sutcliffe want any sauce with his burger?
Nah, but I'll tell you what, yeah, with the till, you could see how much money people had, yeah? Do you know how much he had in his account?
No, go on.
68 grand he had in his, well, over £68,000 he had in his account.
Wow.
Because of compensation of his eye and every time he'd been attacked in that. Because with the till, the balance comes up. So obviously me being nosy, innit? How much you got on your mate? How much money you got, mate? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he had a 68 grand he had in his account and his name. But yeah, so I remember that.
I mean, when I was down there, he was meeting an old woman from South Shields who was not far from where I live, and she was, you know, there was very little communication on those visits, and I always found it really, really strange. But let's concentrate on the positives now. We've concentrated a lot on the negatives. You walk through those prison gates. You've already said you made a list really of things you wanted to achieve, and what made you go into the boxing?
Nothing, but that's what I'm like. People get on to me about my fight. Now, listen, I never come out and never once said I'm gonna be the best boxer. Never claimed to be. It was always the message behind. It wasn't about the boxing fight. Even if I lost, yeah, even though I'm still gonna give it another couple of goes. I'm calling some other people out. You know, like, it was never about winning or losing the fight. It matters message before. It's about the message behind, showing people when people can't tell you can't do something, and like, having a dream and vision ahead and going achieving it. That's what I did. I was in segregation for 9 months for the Brady thing, yeah? And that is where I visualized everything I've done now. That's why I have them 4 letters, PTAW, prove them all wrong. Like, if you've got a goal, you've got a vision in your head. And even to my trolls fix, I know a lot of you are watching that, and a lot of you are doing your channels, and you want to build your channels. And that's why you troll me, you troll the people, you troll us for clickbait, because we get views. But like, vision in your head, you want to be YouTube channel, you want to YouTube it, then write goals down, how you want to do it. If this shit ain't working for you, it's been negative, like, do it a different way. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, and that is it. It's best to have that, try and be more positive, because like attracts like. If you're doing that negative shit, you're probably only going to attract that negative shit. If you do things in a positive way, like some of these trolls in that, yeah, if they were trying to build their channel out, Steve, and if they reached out to me, I'll probably support them. Do you get what I'm saying? And they would probably love that. They would actually love to have me sit in a chat with me, because they're going on so negative, they're burning their bridge. Do you get what I mean? And I
think there's a lot of this going on at the moment, and I tried not to get sucked into it, but unfortunately, because I'm an author and I've written the Sayers book, my current situation involves Paddy Conroy continually making videos. 187 videos he's made now, attacking me, attacking the Sayers family, and putting across a warped side of various events. And for me, he's doing exactly that. He's trying to build his channel up. He's got 4,100 people on there now, and it makes me laugh at times. Some of it, I've done a parody of him that it became that laughable. But that is exactly the situation we are in, and I'm not going to name other names. That is my particular battle, and that's the only one I want to talk about. But the other ones, Ben, have become in some cases, I think some of them have become farcical. Some of them I don't even know if they're real. Some of them are genuine, beefs online. But ultimately, it's all about likes. It's all about subscriptions. It's all about getting the clicks, because a lot of the channels are over 1,000 subscribers, and once you get over 1,000, then you end up getting it monetized. And everybody who is over 1,000 is making some kind of money off YouTube, and that's what it becomes about, making money.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've got I had online beefs and that, but I try and stay away from that. I'm not doing myself favours sometimes. Obviously, my famous one's me and Darren G, but we're not even beefing. We never have really sort of beefed, But anyway, that's the whole other time. Darren's doing really well with his channel, so well done to Darren. And
I thoroughly enjoyed interviewing him when I got him on my channel and got him up to Newcastle. He came up, he travelled up, he was great. He got his message out, and I thoroughly enjoyed having him on. To be fair, so look, I try not to get sucked in.
Yeah.
I am going live on Decker Heggy's channel tomorrow night with Conroy's admin. Conroy still hasn't accepted the hand of friendship or the offer to come on a live with me. Why, I don't know. And now he's sending somebody who apparently is his ex-admin on. So we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow night. Decker Haggy's channel at 8 o'clock. Vincenzo says, Ben, what's your thoughts been on Edinburgh?
Shout out my missus, shout really listen, shout out Edinburgh, man. Honestly, they've been nothing but showing me so much love up here. Like, you know, I felt comfortable, and news is this is why I'm gonna be not stopping YouTube. I'm taking my YouTube a different direction. I'm gonna be doing a live podcast in Edinburgh with Chet Sandhu. We're gonna be doing a live podcast in Edinburgh, 200-seater. In end of October, we just I should be sorting that venue, and that's gonna be my last podcast. It's gonna be my last podcast. So I'm going into a different direction with my channel. I'm going back to law of attraction. I'm going back to positivity. So hopefully you trolls will leave me alone a little bit. But yeah, man. Obviously, I'm gonna be doing one live last podcast up in Edinburgh, and I'm moving here. So yeah, I'm gonna be.
It's a beautiful part of the world. You know, Edinburgh is fantastic. And asking me what I think of it, I love it. I've been up there many times, taking the family up.
Steve, we're going to be there as well. So, you know what I mean? Steve,
love to. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Look, there are people who are putting negative stuff up. I tend to avoid it. I will ask something. Look, a lot of people going on about fighting trolls. No idea who that is or what they do. So apologies to that. A lot of people saying, would you fight this person fighting trolls? Is this something that you've got ongoing? I don't know anything about it. Is that something you want to touch on?
He's a kid from Wales, and that, you know, he really wants to be a YouTuber. He wants to be himself. You know, he's not a boxer, and you know, he carried himself wrong about, you know, how he went about things. You know, he should have come more respectful in this, and I don't know much about him, but you know, he's doing his lives. You know, he's going to stop using my name, so I'm going to start doing the defamations and that. You know, I'll never entertain him because of the way he come across. You know, I don't appreciate the people, it's the way you carry yourself. So, but you know, I know his pals are Ditchy, and Ditchy supported him, and he does his lives, and I wish him all the best. You know,
yeah, I like Ditch. I like Liam. I've got to be honest. Again, another kid who I've interviewed. I don't want to take sides and things like that. It's not what I'm in this for, and I'm certainly not looking for clicks and likes from that. I enjoy speaking to these people, and to be honest, Ben, that's why I asked you to come on. I think, to be honest, if people spend more time crossing over and going onto each other's channels and being interviewed about different things, and
I would have done that for him. Do you know what I mean? That's the, you know, he burned his bridge with me. I would have gone on his live, you know, and that would help build his channel now. But it's not that. It's because of the back of him. I've got this a little network of, and I think it was like John Morris and all that, a little network of trolls that just put my name and constantly just going all these comments. They've got so many different accounts, and you know, it's just weird. But hopefully, you know, I don't know what they're doing, but up to them. But no, you know, all bridges were burnt. That's why I don't entertain him and all that. You know, I've got my plans. I'm sure he's got his plans, and you know, all the best to him building his channel. You know, I think he should carry himself a bit different, a little more positive. Because I've looked on his lives sometimes, it can be negative, and don't always. He needs to remember, don't always get caught up in the likes and the comments and the views. You know, like I said to you, be more positive. Do what makes you happy, and it will come. You know, there's an interview I did with K Coke. Don't know if you know who K Coke is.
Yes.
I had his music inside, and I got there to go there, meet him for the Amazon film and that. Yeah, honestly, that was like one of my most highs about being out. So, and he even said, once you're doing something you love, that will all come. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you ain't got to worry about. Do what you love, and what's meant to come will come. And that's what advice I'd give to fighting trolls. That's what advice I'd give to him.
Okay, look, a lot of people commenting in the chat, and look, Exposure TV New, and all of you people, I've got nothing against any of you guys, and you know, I'm sure you can take it to Ben's channel and have a chat with him about it. You know, you've clearly got issues with Ben, and I respect everyone's points of view, and you know, you've just got to, you know, you just sometimes got to, you know, pick the right time to do that, and you know, for me, this isn't the time. Fighting Trolls interviewed Paul Venice. I am going to have Paul on the show. I know Paul very well. Look forward to getting him on very soon about his book and about, of course, appearing in a film. Who's
Paul? Who's Paul Venice?
Paul's a fighter up in these parts, based in Middlesbrough. Good guy. Good guy, one of life's good guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting them on. Let's get back to a couple of questions before we finish. And there was one or two in there about well, Fluke's put that up. Solitude is the gift. If you want to build your mind, big up to you both, 100%. Which, you know, I get that. It's a nice thing to say. Somebody asked just about, what was the difference between Broadmoor and Ashworth? Is there a difference in those two
There
places?
is a difference. There's a difference, a big difference. Good question. What's that?
I've lost it now, but it was a good question, yeah. And
Shout
somebody
out
also asked, Zula Warrior also asked, what are the staff like in Broadmoor? So tell us the difference between the two places and what the staff are like in both.
Yeah, very ethnic difference as well. Broadmoor was very a lot of agency staff, a lot of African staff. Ashworth staff was a lot of Scousers. Ashworth's Liverpool, so Ashworth's like Scousers. Broadmoor was a lot of agency sort of staff, and is very cultured. There's a lot of staff were African, and so that was probably a big difference. Doctor wise, doctors from all around the world in Broadmoor and in Ashworth. But yeah, staff wise, in Ashworth, all the staff were pretty much all around like the Liverpool area.
Okay. What's the worst meal on the menu in Broadmoor, says Flukes?
The worst meal on the menu in Broadmoor. Oh. Do you know what they do? Rhubarb crumble. I fucking hate it. I hate rhubarb crumble. You know when you go in there because we get like a dessert or something, give me a little mini ice cream, mate. I was happy, you know what I mean? But the rhubarb crumble, yeah, disgusting. Who invented
that? True Dog says, has Ben ever been to Glenparva in Leicester or just London prisons when he was a youngster? If not, has he heard of Glenparva?
Yeah, I have heard of Glenparva. They did a big ship out. A lot of lads from Portland. When I was in Portland, went to Glenparva. I've heard of it, but I never went to Glenparva. I never really done the jail in the Midlands. Most of mine was like around the southeast, where the furthest prison. And then the only time I went up furthest, I went up north, was in Liverpool, and mental hospital. That was Ashworth. So yeah, the furthest prison I went to was probably like. Yeah, London. That's it, London. I know I went really down south, like Portland. That's like Weymouth and that. So I went like down there. But yeah.
Hi, Gaiman was in Parva in the 90s. When you're in Broadmoor and you're in Ashworth, in that position, do you ever worry about never getting out?
Well, I was indefinite, yeah. So I never thought. I think that's one of the reasons I was, fighting the system, because I never thought I was getting out. I stopped talking to everybody. I literally stopped talking to everybody in my life at that point. There was really moving around where I was even dead, people from my area. So, yeah, you know what I mean? It was just, it was difficult. Like, well, on my papers, at 99 years, you're indefinite. You have no release date. I'm done. I'm 21 years old, and I don't have a release date. I don't know when I'm going home. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's hard to deal with.
You've put the documentary together. Are you still planning on doing a book, Ben?
Yeah, I think, I definitely think it's one I want to do. Like, I've actually written quite a bit, the times away, but I'm dyslexic. A lot of people don't know that. Even though I wrote the book Law of Attraction, that done really well, surprisingly. It was difficult to do because I had to go to the library and keep asking people how to spell and things, because I can't spell. So my grammar and that as well. Like, I love iPhones. Doing the voice notes and that is amazing. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, but I do want to do a book. I have wrote a lot down. Most about the Broadmoor story. There is an interest. I know a company has took over. They want the movie rights to the story. They've done it. It's just about writing the script out. It's me at the minute. I'm trying to do so much. Even though I'm just getting involved with another charity that's going to be getting posted. I'm going on live on Instagram later, so people check that. With Tam Hassan, he's going to be running it, an audition. I'm getting involved with that. Just so much going on. I've just come back from Wales, out there the celebrity football match as well, charity. I try and do a lot of good things. Try and give a lot of time to go out and try and do a lot, but I do need to sort of take some time. That's why after this live podcast, I won't be on YouTube until about Christmas time. I'm reinventing the whole channel, and I need to sort myself out as well because I still haven't really fully adjusted. I want to sort my driving and that out. There's still a lot I've got to do as well myself. I feel I just waffled on a bit then.
No, you haven't. Look, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, normally people are trolling me. Today, you certainly took my shine away with trolls because I've never seen as many, Ben, and I find that kind of situation.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is, man. Like I said, I just come out and trying to do something positive. And
there's an issue with.
It's just this man that fighting trolls. Though it's just this little group.
Yeah. Fighting trolls is there in the chat now, asking what's going on. Look at your numbers with this. Get me to talk to them. please take it to Ben's channel. Ben is, Ben I'm sure will interact. You can find Ben on all of his social medias, and don't forget his link for his channel is in the chat below. Ben, before we finish, mate, ambitions. What are your ambitions, and what do you hope for the future? You're going to walk away from social media and YouTube after your live chat with Chet in Edinburgh once you get the venue sorted. So that in itself will give you a lot of spare time and positivity, I bet, in your life. But what else are you planning on doing? What do you want to do?
I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight two more fights. That's what I'm trying to get lined up. There's someone I've got my eye on. I've got a little argy-bargy on Instagram at the minute. They are a fighter. That's why otherwise I won't fighting Joe as well, because he's not a boxer. I want to fight someone with a platform again, because I want to try and do something with charity. So I'm after the next two people I fight. They have to obviously be a platform. Then I'm looking forward to the break. I'm going away. I've got one of my first holidays coming up. I'm going to Marbella in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. You know what I mean? And my missus, we're looking forward to it. And then, just starting to work on myself a little bit. Get obviously start driving, get the driving sorted. And then looking forward to Christmas and just settling down, man. I think that's it. My future plan is, my future plan is to be getting into the schools. That's going to be my job base. Start going into the schools and start trying to promote law of attraction, try and build up youth, try and steer them away from knife crime, and start setting up some workshops. But that's what I'm trying to do, man. Just put a lot of positivity out there, innit? But I'm looking forward to my YouTube break, though. Man, trolls are killing me, man.
It would be good. It would be good. Look, fighting trolls. It's not my fight. It's not my argument. Wacky world of YouTube. Thanks. I know. And Dennis suggesting that I get fighting trolls.
It will never happen.
It's
never gonna happen, man. I don't even know. Like, listen, everyone going on like we know. I don't know. Is there some other guy? Listen, nothing. Listen, on my level, I'm never gonna entertain it. I'm never gonna entertain it. I'm never gonna entertain it. The old trolls, just leave it as there. It's never gonna happen.
No, look, I think what Decker Heggie has done over the last 7 days has probably been, it's been good for his channel. Me going on, of course, with him, with Sean Atwood sat in the middle as a judge and jury. Tomorrow night, again, as I've said, 8 o'clock on Decker's channel, we'll be doing a chat with, Paddy Conroy's admin, which again, I'm sure will bring good figures. That's not what this channel's about. I do like to have different guests on, people from world of sport, people from crime, whatever. It's just whoever I feel like talking to at a particular time, and it is good to get somebody like yourself on, mate. And I think you're trying your hardest to send a positive message, and that is important. And good luck to you, Ben. That's all I can say, mate. So
I'm wicked, man.
No, listen, and I'll happily come on your channel before you disappear into the ethos and crack on with other stuff, mate. But Ben, Hatchett, great to have you on, mate. Take care. Thanks very much.
All the best, man. All right, big up. Take care.